Have you ever paused to wonder why life would let you cross paths with someone who feels like a missing piece of your soul, only to take them away just as quickly? Why would the universe allow two hearts to recognize each other in an instant, only to make union impossible? There is a particular ache in these encounters, a quiet sorrow that sinks into the bones. You feel seen, awakened, maybe even whole for a brief moment, only to watch it all dissolve because timing falters, circumstances complicate, or your very evolution demands separation. It feels like loss, like betrayal by something greater. But it is neither punishment nor misfortune. It is a summons. Carl Jung often spoke of the deep stirrings that come not from the conscious mind, but from the depths of the unconscious. These soul-level meetings are not orchestrated by logic or convenience. They emerge from the inner self, from the hidden architecture of our psyche, designed not to satisfy our longing, but to activate our becoming. When two souls ignite, the flames don't always promise forever. Sometimes they exist to burn away the illusions we've outgrown. You meet someone, and suddenly the parts of you that have been asleep begin to stir. Old wounds reopen, not to harm, but to heal from a deeper place. Long-forgotten dreams begin to resurface, whispering of a life you've abandoned in exchange for safety. These moments are sacred, not because they lead to permanence, but because they awaken a truth that was buried beneath survival. There will be a part of you that tries to hold on, desperate to stretch the moment into eternity. But there is another part, a quieter, wiser current within, that knows the truth. This connection was never meant to be held. It was meant to awaken you. The human heart longs for guarantees and companionship, but the soul seeks transformation. And often, those two desires pull us in opposite directions. You can love someone completely and still not be meant to walk beside them forever. Love, in its highest form, does not always arrive to stay. Sometimes it arrives to open the door and then to disappear, leaving you not empty, but irreversibly changed. Carl Jung spoke often of synchronicity, not as coincidence, but as the mysterious alignment of outer events with the inner unfolding of the soul. When two people cross paths and feel an immediate, almost sacred recognition, it is not simply attraction. It is the meeting of archetypal forces moving beneath the surface of ordinary life. These encounters are rarely rational. They are not governed by logic or linear time. They are the psyche's way of nudging us toward what we have long silenced within. That undeniable pull towards someone is not random. It is a symbolic echo from the unconscious, a reflection of what your soul is ready to face, remember, and become. The pain that follows such a connection is not life being unkind. It is the rupture of an old self, the necessary shattering of a protective shell that once kept you safe, but now keeps you small. You may ask, why would the universe give me something so beautiful only to take it away? But the deeper question is this: what within you needed to be broken open in order to truly live? Growth rarely emerges from comfort. It blooms in the ache, in the unanswered longing, in the silence left behind. And through this wound, something ancient within you awakens, a forgotten self rising from the ashes of expectation. The universe is not guided by the human notion of fairness. It is devoted to your evolution. It does not arrange events to keep you secure, but to call you into wholeness. And sometimes, the cost of becoming is the very thing you thought you could not lose. That person you cannot forget was never sent to complete you. They were sent to reveal you. They held a mirror up to your soul. Not to stay, but to stir the parts of you that were still asleep. They carried a frequency that matched your next becoming, and so their exit, as painful as it was, became the very passage through which you were invited to grow. You had to meet them, you had to love them, and yes, you had to lose them, because through that process, a deeper truth surfaced, one that no easy love could ever teach you. When someone leaves a mark on your being, it is not because they belonged to you. It is because they reminded you of something sacred that belongs to you alone. They were not the destination, they were the awakening. At first, it feels like life has betrayed you. You ask, why would they leave? Why would something so real vanish just when it felt most alive? But deeper still, beneath the sorrow and silence, there is a more essential question waiting to be asked. Not why they left, but what their presence stirred awake inside you. The moment you shift from seeking blame to seeking meaning, you begin to see the outline of something sacred. Perhaps they awakened the part of you that had grown numb, that had been hiding behind routines and protective masks. Perhaps they revealed your patterns, the silent ways you turn away from love, the ways you hesitate to believe you're worthy, the ways you protect yourself by disappearing from your own life. Sometimes it takes the pain of love to show us where we have shut the door on ourselves. Jung once said that the meeting of two souls is like the interaction of two chemical elements. If any reaction occurs, both are transformed. And so it was. You were changed, not in your mind alone, but in your very chemistry. They didn't just stir your heart, they stirred your psyche. They disrupted your equilibrium, not to destroy you, but to call forth something unexpressed and buried. The ache you feel is not a sign of failure. It is the mark of the beginning of transformation. You are not broken because you remember them. You are not fragile because it still stings. You are becoming. You are unraveling and reforming. You are returning to the places in your heart where you once abandoned yourself. And through that return, you are recovering a self that had long gone quiet. The soul does not always heal through comfort. It often heals through contrast. You may not have been meant to walk through life with them, but you were meant to find yourself through them. They did not stay, but they unlocked the room you had kept locked for too long. It is tempting to believe that if love is real, it must last. That shared feeling should promise a shared life. But the deeper truth is more mysterious. Not every soul connection is meant to plant roots. Some come only to light a fire. Some arrive to break the illusion of safety and bring you face to face with who you really are. They do not stay, not because the connection was false, but because its purpose was fulfilled. And what they left behind, grief, memory, awakening, is not ruin, it is a sacred doorway. And the one you meet on the other side is you. There are moments when loss does not feel like freedom, yet beneath the ache lies a liberation too deep to name. You mistake the sting for absence, the emptiness for punishment, but what has really happened is an unbinding. You have been released from a pattern, from a sleep you did not know you were in. Carl Jung taught that we are ruled, often unconsciously, by the parts of ourselves we cannot yet face. And it is through love, especially the kind that arrives like a haunting and leaves like a whisper, that we are summoned to the mirror. That mirror, held up by another soul, does not reflect who you pretend to be. It reveals who you truly are, not the polished surface, but the raw, trembling truths buried beneath the roles, the defenses, the masks. When two souls meet with force but cannot endure in form, it is not always failure. It is the psyche in motion. Such encounters are less about attachment than they are about ignition. One awakens the other. One soul serves as a torch that lights the cave of the other's unconscious. And once the flame has done its work, the form is no longer needed. The relationship dissolves, not out of abandonment, but out of completion. It may hurt because it did not last. But deeper still, it may have endured exactly long enough to awaken what needed to rise. What you call a failed connection may have been the most sacred threshold of your becoming. We cling to the idea that real love must remain, but some love is meant to shatter. Some love is meant to burn and leave only the ashes of who you thought you were. The universe not only delivers safe harbors, often it delivers storms, wild, holy storms, that crash through the illusions you've built to survive. These are the loves that leave you trembling and changed. They do not offer comfort, they offer transformation. And it is in that terrifying unraveling that your essence is revealed. The self that emerges from such fire is not the one that entered. You may find, in that silence that follows, pieces of your voice you forgot, longings you buried, truths you dulled to fit the mold others created for you. Jung once wrote that true loneliness stems not from being alone, but from the inability to speak what matters most. When someone sees you in that depth, even for a moment, it can feel like your soul has been exposed to light for the first time. So perhaps they did not come to stay. Perhaps they came to disrupt the silence you made a home in, to awaken what you silenced, to dismantle the walls you mistook for peace. And while your heart aches to hold on, a deeper part of you knows they arrived to crack you open, not to settle inside your old self. They were not the destination. They were the path through which your soul found its own reflection. What vanishes in form is not what vanishes in essence. The loss of a soul connection is not measured by the absence of a person, but by the refusal to understand what their presence was meant to awaken within you. We often remain trapped in the ache, bound not by the love itself, but by the wounds it exposed. When we carry bitterness or resentment, we do not preserve the bond, we prolong the illusion. But if you dare to sit in the pain, to let it whisper instead of numb it, it will begin to unravel what was hidden beneath your silence. It will show you where you abandoned yourself long before they arrived. The universe, in its quiet intelligence, does not scatter people randomly across our path. It delivers messengers cloaked in longing, lessons veiled in connection. And not all messages are wrapped in comfort. Some arrive as heartbreak, as endings you did not choose, but somehow needed. You may encounter someone who feels like home, only to learn that the true home you've longed for must be built within. You may love someone deeply, only to realize that love, in its highest form, sometimes requires release. Not because the connection was untrue, but because holding on would mean forsaking your own becoming. Pain, in this light, is not punishment. It is a portal, the crack through which your deeper self begins to emerge. The person you couldn't keep may have been the very key to a door you didn't know was sealed. A door that, once opened, leads not to them but to you. And yes, it feels unfair. It's not what you imagined, it rarely is. However, in Jung's view, the soul is not searching for comfort, it is searching for meaning. And meaning often hides in the places we least want to look. When their absence aches within you, realize that you are not only mourning their presence, you are grieving the part of yourself that was alive in their nearness. The possibility, the dream, the vision of what could have been. But what has been born in the wake of that loss is something far more enduring. Self-acknowledge, an awakened heart, a deeper, wider awareness of your own truth. You may never forget them. Some souls leave marks that time cannot erase, but you are not meant to carry their memory as a burden. You are meant to alchemize it into flight. The lessons, the longing, even the ache, none of it was given to break you, only to break you open. They were never sent to complete you. They were sent to shatter the illusion that you were not already whole, to remind you that the deepest loves are not those that remain, but those that transform. The universe does not send you who you want. It sends what your soul needs, and sometimes the one who changed everything was never meant to stay. They were meant to awaken the part of you that finally can. We are often taught that pain is proof of misdirection, that if something ends in heartbreak, it must not have been meant for us. But the soul operates on a far deeper plane than logic or comfort. Jung understood that life's purpose is not ease but transformation. The path of individuation, the journey toward becoming your truest self, is not marked by smooth roads and quiet certainty. It is shaped through ruptures, awakenings, and encounters that disturb the false peace we've built around our identity. And so, the one you cannot forget was not a mistake. They were a sacred disruption, a mirror placed in your path to reflect not what was lacking, but what lay dormant within. They didn't take you off course. They shattered the illusion of what you thought your life was supposed to be, revealing instead the life that was waiting quietly beneath the surface. You didn't love the wrong person. You loved someone at a stage when your own soul was still searching for itself. Or perhaps they had not yet made peace with their own reflection and could not hold space for yours. This is not failure. This is initiation, an inner rite of passage disguised as romantic devastation. Sometimes, the universe sends you someone not to keep, but to awaken. Not to build with, but to burn through. The layers of unconsciousness you didn't realize you were wrapped in. It hurts because it touches the most vulnerable hope we carry, the hope that love will be the balm to all our inner fractures, that someone else can fill the aching spaces we have yet to claim within. But no one else can be your foundation. No one else can build the home you abandoned within your own soul. The people who leave, the ones whose presence lingers, are often the very ones who illuminated how far you had drifted from yourself. When someone awakens you, it feels as though they gave you life. But when they are gone and the echo of their absence surrounds you, what remains is not emptiness. What remains is you, and it was always you. They did not give you something you lacked. They simply made you feel what was already alive beneath the surface. And now the true journey begins, not to seek them again, but to nurture the aliveness they unearthed without needing them to sustain it. It's tempting to romanticize. Imagine that one day the stars will realign and bring them back. But this longing, if left unchecked, becomes a distraction from the soul's real task. Not reunion, but integration. Not waiting, but becoming. Their purpose was not to complete your story. It was to ignite the chapter that only you could write. Jung taught that what is unacknowledged within us continues to govern us from the shadows. What you resist does not dissolve, it digs in deeper. And so it is with loss, with endings, with the silent echo of love that could not stay. If you resist the grief, deny the change, or cling to what has already fulfilled its purpose, you remain suspended in a story that no longer moves. The energy of the universe is not wasted. It does not scatter meaning into your life without intent. Every soul that crosses your path, even those who leave you undone, arrives bearing the fire of transformation. And the more you ask, why couldn't we stay, the longer you postpone the real question, what truth was I meant to awaken through this? Perhaps they were sent to stir a depth of love within you that had long been dormant. Perhaps they ignited a fury you had buried beneath years of silence. Perhaps they held up a mirror to your deepest insecurities, showing you the raw shape of your fear. Or perhaps they called your authentic self out of exile, whispering it back into existence. These are not accidents. These are sacred thresholds. Not every love is destined to endure. Some are meant to burn through illusions. Some are meant to resurrect the self you forgot. Some are meant to awaken your dormant fire. Their purpose is not always partnership. Sometimes, their purpose is powerfully personal. They arrive to catalyze your becoming. You may grieve. You may ache for the shared future that now lives only in memory, but within that sorrow lies something more profound. A gift disguised in absence. What remains after the storm is the stillness where clarity begins, a deeper intimacy with your own soul, an unflinching honesty about who you are becoming. There is a quiet kind of grief that follows soul connections that are not meant to last. It lingers not as heartbreak, but as the mourning of an old world view, an identity that no longer fits. Yet, beneath that soft sorrow lies a sacred gratitude. Gratitude for the experience of having loved with such depth. Gratitude for the courage it took to feel. Gratitude for being shattered in just the right way so that light could find the cracks. They were not here to stay. They were here to shake the foundation you built from fear and awaken the truth sleeping beneath it. Their departure was not the end. It was the doorway into the next chapter of your soul's unfolding. It is tempting to retreat into blame when the story ends before you are ready, to turn the ache inward or cast it toward the heavens, asking why love showed up only to vanish. But bitterness is simply pain that refuses to transform. And your soul did not enter this life to remain hardened. It came to evolve, to stretch, to feel deeply and rise. You are no longer the person you were before they arrived. That shift within you was not an accident. It was the very essence of their arrival. Perhaps you were never meant to walk beside them for long. Perhaps they were not a home but a doorway. But what they left behind is not absence. It is a flame. It is a living symbol of the fire they lit within you. The courage to feel, the clarity to see, the strength to awaken. They were not the destination, they were the bridge. Not a shelter for rest, but the storm that blew your illusions open. Not a lifetime, but a lesson. And that does not diminish the love, it sanctifies it. Because if you carry forward what they awakened, if you let the tenderness, the rupture, and the revelation shape you without turning you to stone, then nothing was in vain. You didn't truly lose them. You found the hidden parts of yourself through them, and that is why they came. Some connections are not gentle arrivals. They are initiations. They do not soothe. They stir. They touch the parts of your soul that were still silent, still afraid, still unseen, and their leaving forces you to ask, was love ever meant to be about keeping or about becoming? Jung wrote that we are magnetized toward those who carry the fragments of our own psyche that we are ready to reclaim. Some carry them in joy, in harmony, in lasting bonds. Others in fire, in distance, in impossible timing. Both are sacred. Both are mirrors. The one you could not hold on to was not a mistake. They were the moment of awakening. This is proof that your heart was made not just to survive but to open. To be pierced, to remember. Let it hurt. Let the memories come. Let the scent, the song, the sudden flash of them flood you. Not to break you, but to remind you that you were once fully alive. That something mattered. When the longing visits again, do not ask why they had to go. Ask instead, what part of me came alive in their presence that I am now being asked to keep alive on my own? The universe is not careless. It does not send beauty into your life without purpose. It strips away illusions so that something true may rise. The deeper the bond, the greater the alchemy it demands. And if you are grieving someone you could not stay with, let that grief be an altar. Honor the depth, the love, the expansion. Honor the version of yourself they helped you remember. Then, quietly, begin to build a life that reflects the truth they revealed. Not one wrapped in loss, but one rooted in the flame they left burning inside you. Because the tragedy is not that they left. The tragedy would be forgetting the soul you became in their light. You carry the meaning. You carry the fire. You carry the transformation. They were a chapter, not the entire book. And some of the most powerful chapters cannot be reread. They can only be remembered. In silence. In reverence. With gratitude. If this message stirred something inside you, don't stop here. The next video will take you deeper into healing, growth, and self-discovery. It might just be the breakthrough your soul has been waiting for. Tap into it now. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and join a community committed to truth, transformation, and real inner change. You're not alone on this path. I'll meet you in the following video, where we continue becoming who we were always meant to be.